And a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Radio Works World. I'm Marion Bevington, your vision host. And the reason I'm a vision host is I see things in my own way. And we all do, don't we? I know that I often see more, sometimes too much, than other people. And I often see things that I don't see things that other people do see. So we all have an individual perspective, and our own vision can be clarified when we have other people to share with us in a vision. We get to see things from different perspectives. We get to experience life in different ways. We kind of get to gather more judgments as well, don't we? The more we see, the more there is to judge. And the reason I want to talk about this today is because I had a very strange thought in bed this morning. It was actually, just as I'd woken up, I turned over, and the place in the bed I turned to was a bit cooler than where I'd been lying, obviously. And I suddenly had this thought that, oh, I don't like the cold. I wanted to roll back to the comfortable spot. And it was great because that thought immediately, it like really woke me up, because I thought, but cold exists in so many places. What's the point of not liking it? And then I went into this rather deep contemplation about, what is it about the cold that I don't like? And how do I know that I don't like it? Is it just a voice in my head? And so I started to explore. So here I am lying in this bit that's a little bit colder, and a greater part of me wants to turn back to the warmer spot in the bed. Now, I'm a woman of a certain age. Sometimes I look for the cold spot, but this wasn't one of those moments. So as I'm in the cold part of the bed, with this thought that, oh, I don't like the cold, it's like, wow, how could you not like the cold? What's the point in having a judgment about something that exists everywhere? So then I began to explore, so how do I know I don't like it? Well, there was a bit of a squeeze, what's the word, contraction. My body slightly contracted. I didn't like that, because that then made me feel unsettled or not able to settle. Now, I was going to be getting up in a few minutes, so settling was not really what I wanted. But because I'd come out of a very, very settled state, to move into something that was a little bit more tense, contracted, it felt uncomfortable. And so the judgment from the uncomfortable was I didn't like it. But actually, as I say, often I go looking for the cold spot in the bed. And when I find it, oh, it's just such a relief. So it's great, isn't it, that we can start to perceive our own judgment, and how that judgment can then go on and have a huge domino effect on the next few moments that could become the next few years, that could become the rest of our lives. Because we know, things that gain momentum are more likely to carry on. So when I was in this place of, wow, that's so interesting. How can I have this thought that I don't like the cold? And where would that impact me in life? That would actually have quite a big influence over me, because when I go to something I don't like, it's like it switches me into the don't like mode. So there's a breathing rhythm that goes with that. There's a feeling that goes with that. There's a state of mind that goes with that. There's this mood that goes with that feeling of, oh, I don't like cold. And I say it all the time. I don't like the cold. I like it can never be too hot. I have this place in me where there's a deep belief, a deep judgment. It's not a belief, it's a judgment. Maybe it's both. A deep judgment about warm and cold, and I like it warm. And so that started me thinking, isn't that interesting? I wonder what it is within us that is so, it's like we program ourselves, don't we, to avoid what we don't want. And so often we find goals and dreams and desires, like the warm spot in the bed. That was what I wanted at the time. And we can put so much effort and energy into finding that spot. But actually, it's not because we wanted to stay warm. It's because we wanted to not contract. So even if I'd have gone looking for the other warm bit in the bed and relaxed back into it, my intention in that moment was not to stay warm. My intention was to avoid the cold. And then I got onto this. My head gets quite complex thoughts going on first thing in the morning when it's clear. So then I started to go down this avenue of, is there anything that I actually do that I want? Or am I always running away from what I don't want? Such a deep question, because it's like there are so many alleyways that I can follow. And what came to me at the end of this process, which is what I would like to talk to you a little bit more about today, is that actually the only moment is now. It's such a cliche, isn't it? Because it's what all of the teachings, spiritual teachings, talk about. It's in the Bible, it's in the Bhagavad Gita, it's in the Yoga Sutras, it's probably in the Kabbalah and the Quran. I don't know, because I've never read them. So this idea of being present, the only real thing is the now moment. And in this now moment, oh, that one's already gone. In this next now moment that's coming up right now, we've missed it, it's gone. It's like, it's crazy, isn't it? It's this conveyor belt of moments that never stops. And yet, the clearest intention, okay, so I can see now what it is I'm trying to share with you. The clearest way to make an intention is to be present. So, for example, my intention with the Stage Fright Away business, there are a few things in that intention. One is to help people, to bring people into a place where they can be truthful and honest and their authentic self. That for me is a real key, because that was my journey. That's where the work I do has brought me to be able to be myself, to come inside me, to inhabit this body fully, and to do it from a place of inner authority, so that that authority and that authenticity shine out as beacons for other people to shine back at me. So we can have shining competitions everywhere where there's no winner, everybody resonates. So to be in this place where you are shining, and as the beautiful Marina Nani has coined a wonderful hashtag, stardust, we are stardust. Our job is to shine. And so I love the work that I'm doing with Stage Fright Away. And Speak Easy is the program that's out at the moment that really helps you to speak easy, and speak easy from your inner self. So to speak easily from a place of complete truth in you, not in the surroundings, not in the society, not in the connections and the relationships, but authentically yourself, to shine out and to enhance society, relationships, friends and things. And so practicing being in this present moment and noticing things like, oh, it's cold. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, wow, that's an interesting thought. How do you do? It's such a crucial question, I think, because while I'm in the I don't like that thought, if I start examining what got me there, how I got there, then I can see, if I like it, how do I take the steps to get there more frequently? And if I don't like it, or if it's not serving me, what bits of those steps do I need to renegotiate, to re-navigate, to get me into a flow, a process that I do like, that does serve me? So being in the present moment. So let's do a little exercise about being in the present moment, since I've just been talking about it quite a lot. So you can close your eyes if you want to, you can keep your eyes open, it's fine. But just imagine you can feel the cell in the center of your heart. So go right in, drink, go in and become aware of the cell, the one cell that's right in the middle of the heart. So imagine you can see it, it's part of the pulsing part of the heart. So it's oh, that's not the speed. Something like that is my speed at the moment. So you see, if you tune right in, you can actually connect with the movement of the heart. And from that place, imagine going infinitely small, infinitely small. You know, when you see those microscope filming things where they go smaller, 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 or coming back to Earth from the universe, smaller, 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 smaller. See the Earth getting bigger, 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 bigger. So imagine you're doing that into the heart, into the cell, and then you're going to go and look at a specific part of the cell. So maybe some of the DNA on the inside. That's cool, isn't it? So go to the DNA inside that heart cell. And there's huge spirals everywhere. Now we're microscopic now. Go to one part of a huge spiral and realize that that spiral is like an aerial, like a TV aerial. It is transmitting you. And at the same time, it's receiving you. So it's not only an inwardly receiving information aerial, it's an outwardly transmitting information aerial. That's what DNA is. That's my understanding. So it's sending out signals that it's receiving signals all the time. So go into one little piece of that. So imagine you're there at the one little piece of that. And one of the sets of signals it's connected to and communicating with is the planet, the ground, the Earth. The mother is because I am from Earth, you know, I'm the stardust, and the stars broke up and created the planet Earth, and the planet Earth has grown and flourished and given me minerals and compounds and chemicals that have made up me, this physical body. So if I'm connected to everything, and I'm connected to this tiny part in the center of my heart at the same time, that's transmitting this bit of DNA that's transmitting signals out there and receiving signals. It's transmitting me, and it's receiving me, and it's receiving information from everyone and everything around me, including the planet. Then I can see a connection to me and the planet. In my mind's eye, I can see the connection to me and the planet. And that's called earthing or grounding myself. And if you're doing it, you are grounding yourself. By grounding, I mean really connecting to what we are part of, what we've come from on this physically manifest plane. And so connecting to the Earth and being deep in the center of your own heart and witnessing the transfer of information from both of those things, and knowing that you are, part of you is the awareness that is aware of the signals being received and aware of the ground that you're on and aware of the image in your mind. And that awareness is doing no thinking, it's doing no speaking, it's doing no listening, it's not active, it's always there, it's always witnessing. Whenever we tune into it, the witness, the consciousness, the awareness, when we tune into it, then the information that we've got available to us expands. So seeing is one of those ways that information can expand, because when we look, we can notice many things that we don't normally see. When we really begin to look, there are so many things that we don't normally see. So for example, I'm looking into the camera here now at you, if you're looking, and if you're not, that's what I'm doing. And I'm looking at this little pinhole that's a camera. But in my imagination, I visualize there are people listening. I've got Marina listening. I've got Dari listening. There are different people in my audience who are listening. And I might listen later on too. So hello, Marion. And so I'm looking at the camera and I'm visualizing something that's not there. But what I'm not seeing when I'm doing that is I'm not seeing my glasses. I'm not seeing the skin over my eyes. I'm not seeing the air. Well, it's invisible, isn't it? But if you allow yourself to really, can I do it? If I look out the window, I can do it. Do you ever get that point where you see all those little fishy things swimming around? All those things that move and wriggle around in your eyes? It's like a pool of tadpoles, isn't it? So there I can go to it. If I look out the window. If I look at you, I can't really do it. But there's so many things that I can see when I bring more consciousness, more awareness into the situation. And then I've got the habituated seeing. So I'm used to looking through my glasses, so I don't see them. But actually, if I focus on them, I can see them. And then I've got the imagined seeing, which is you, who I'm talking to now. So I don't know that you're there. I can't hear you. I can't see you. I don't really know that you're there. But I know that somebody's listening. And it may be me later. But I know that someone's listening. So I'm engaged in communicating and sharing this idea that I had. It's great, isn't it? I've got all of this content out of one little thought this morning about I don't like the cold spot in the bed. So how easily we then get disappointed. So, I got into the cold spot and there was a sense of, oh no. It's like I'd lost some warmth, or I'd lost comfort, or I hadn't lost anything. It was right next to me. I changed state. That's all that had happened. And I judged that the state before was better than the state I'd moved into. So again, this idea of judgment, it is absolutely human nature to have judgments, because we have a mind, because we think, because we live in the duality, black and white, yin and yang, and all of those things, because we live in that place. And in order to be physically manifest, we have to. Then we are going to have judgments. What I'm starting to work with and to teach more at the moment is that a judgment is not clean. And if we can start to look where judgments that serve us and judgments that help us to be discerning, judgments that help us to create clear, good boundaries for our own existence, judgments that inspire us to really be more authentic, to speak from our inner place, from our authority, our inner authority, to express our authentic self. The more clearly, the more cleanly we create judgments around self-expression and personal being, then I believe the judgment moves to what's called discernment or discrimination. Because we are always judging, because everything has black or white, negative or positive, because things live in that dual place, we have to pick one just to get over the present moment and to get into the next moment. Or we avoid the whole thing. Or I don't know if we can take on the whole thing. Eventually we can, through acceptance and understanding. But, we're given little pieces of information and then we put them straight into a box, don't we? Like, don't like. Like, don't like. Like, don't like. You put them straight into a box. And if you keep putting things into the like box, it feels great, doesn't it? And then you start putting things into the don't like box. And it keeps happening, and it keeps happening. God, and then you end up in a bad mood and a bit frustrated and angry and bitter and resentful and sometimes bored. But what we would consider to be negative emotions that really don't feel good. You don't feel like you're in flow. There's a sense of resistance of some kind in that negativity. And yet, so with the cold spot in the bed this morning, it's a great little experience I had, because it's got so much great content, great knowledge and wisdom around what I got out of that experience. So, being in the cold spot, well, great, there's a cold spot here if I need it when I get my internal heating flush. Great, there's a little cold spot here I can go to. That's good news. Or, oh, I'm getting out of bed in a moment. Wow, this is nice. I've just had a little bit of a contraction, which has kind of woken me up a bit more. So I'll get out of bed with even more awakeness. That little contraction is like a pulse that runs through the body. So I could be like, wow, sensing the sensation of the pulse passing through my body and enjoying this embodied experience of a little bit of a contraction. I mean, no pain, no problem. Just this dislike of this bit of contraction. What else was there? There was so much in that one moment. But really the key, I think, the key that I'd like to share with you today, for me, was this question, this brilliant question that arose in my mind, which was, how do I do not liking the cold? What is it I'm doing? What are the processes? What are the thoughts? What are the beliefs? What are the habits? What are the programs, the behaviors that take me into this negative place of don't like the cold, rather than, oh, cold, that's interesting. Cold, it's different. cold. It has a bit, and just observing, being curious, observing, and being kind. So understanding that every situation that we get into all of the time gives us an opportunity to be curious and kind. And at the same time, we can generate enough discernment around judgments to make sure that we look after ourselves authentically, we respect ourselves and our own truth, and we allow our inner being to express herself, in my case, or himself sometimes. We allow that inner being to express itself in a way that's free, but doesn't hook onto more judgments and make the situation even worse. So, gosh, there's so much. It was such a big lesson of awakening this morning, just to awaken and move into the cold bit of the bed. It's great, isn't it, what the mind is like? And so one last thing I want to share is that when we are in relationship with other people, this discernment, this discrimination about who we are, how we are, why we are the way we are, they're all so important. And that's why Speakeasy and Stage Fright Away is so important. Oh, and I realized Stage Fright Away is one of these desires to get away from something. You're not sure what it is you're moving towards, but you know you need to get away from the fear of stage fright. So when you do get away from, so this was the point I don't think I'd finished earlier. When you do get away from the fear, where will you be? So what would you rather have? So rather than thinking, I don't want to have stage fright. So one of the things I did was I called the program Speak Easy, because that's one of the things that people would rather have. So if you've got stage fright written at the top of a page, or you can write any of your problems at the top of a page, something about life that you judge negatively at the moment, and then make a list and do it on the other side of the page, just as the mind can separate. What would you rather do? What would you rather be? What would you rather have? What experience would you rather have? What would you rather experience? All of these, what would it rather? So you build the absolute clear picture of what you do want. Because even when we're positively focused, and even when we have a clear, direct goal, so often that goal is created through dislikes, moving away from dislikes, when actually, if it's very clearly what we do want, what we do like, it comes much more quickly. It comes with much less resistance. And the lessons that we learn on the way will always be about letting go of judgment, where judgment is absolutely not helping us. It's not serving us. It's wasting energy. It's wasting time. It's taking the attention that could very easily be used somewhere much more wisely, much more brilliantly. So as I said this morning with the cold spot on the bed, rather than me go, oh, it's a bit cold here, oh, I'm going to turn back over, I could have gone, oh, yay, bit of a snap, a bit of a wake up. It's great, this has given me a little bit of a boost. So why didn't I do that? Knowing that a little boost just before you get out of bed is a brilliant thing. I know that. I knew that then. And yet this habituated negativity that we have, it's habituated. It happens automatically until we bring this consciousness, this awareness that I was talking about to it. When we bring our consciousness, when we bring our awareness, when we become curious and kind, we need to do both. Curious and kind. Now, kind doesn't mean, sweetness and light. Kind can be very harsh when it's needed. And again, when we're building our boundaries, when we're creating who we are and how we are, and we're conditioning the space around this body, around this mind, conditioning that space so that I can step into it as me. I can be in it as me, as much of me as I can afford to be right now, as I know how to be right now, as it's wise for me to be right now. This full part of me, this is what Speakeasy is beginning to help other people to have an awakening of, that it is actually easy to speak from an inner place of authority. Once you start to move out these old habits and you see the old habits for what they are, then they lose their control over us. They lose their automaticness. Is that even a word? They stop being automatic, because what happens automatically is curiosity and kindness pops up as a thought, as a question. Oh, wow. Now I'm feeling a bit nervous on stage. Wow, that's interesting. Rather than, oh my God, I'm going to die on the stage. Everyone's going to think I'm stupid, or whatever the thoughts are, the ideas are. So always understanding that judgment and discernment are very similar, but discernment is a much more conscious process, less automatic process. And the way to get into that conscious place is to do what we just did. So imagine the place in your DNA. Imagine that tiny, tiny little place of DNA in the center of the heart, transmitting information, powerful information out from you, and receiving powerful information from the world around you, from the space around you. So if you condition the space around you, what your heart is it's like it's receiving your own love. It's beautiful. As the torus is this gorgeous shape that is flow, where real flow is torus shaped. And so this love and space that I create for myself, I hold for myself, and I share from, is all conditioned by me, through me, with me. And then everybody else is included, but it's my space. And I'm the only one who occupies this space. I always am, and I always will be. So it's up to me to be responsible for this space. It's up to me to be responsible for navigating and managing this space and finding the right questions. So Speakeasy and Stage Fright Away are my current creations for helping you to speak up, to create and condition your own space where you can speak from. And tonight, I'm very excited because tonight we have the brilliant event run by the amazing Marina Nani, who's going to come and join me now and tell us a little bit more about it. But tonight, if you come to, it's in central London, it's just over the river, it's near the Dogs and Cats home at Battersea. And in the event tonight, you will be given not only an amazing room full of brilliant people who are all sharing messages, finding easier, better, more productive ways to share their own message. And everybody in that room has a message that is helping other people. So not only will you get to network with all of these people to find out what they're doing, you'll be able to share what you do with these people. And we have opportunities for photographs, so you can get some really stunning photographs with brilliant people, with yourself. Bring your book if you have one, your video if you have one, bring your nan if you have one, so she can cheer on for you as well. But you'll have great opportunities to talk to people, great sharing, photographs, video, and the opportunity to get feedback on how to do it even better. So Marina, is there anything I've forgotten about tonight's event?
You said it beautifully, absolutely beautifully. And I was fascinated by your sentence. At some point you said you have to be curious and kind. Yes. And I know I'm a harsh person, and I've been harsh many, many times in my life with myself. So it was really hard to be kind to others because this is how I was treating myself. Yes. And it was almost like a state of mind, harshness. And now I learn over the years, and I'm sharing with every single one of our listeners this very personal truth. I learn that you have to be kind to yourself with no reason. And after that, because what you said is so brilliant, after that, start being curious. Who is this kind person sitting inside of you? And then after you discover that, you could easily see, actually see, as in SEE, in full light, the next door person, the person who sits next to you. But first you have to see who sits inside you, how wonderful you are. And I know you might be thinking, oh, I need to change myself. So I'm saying no, absolutely no. Don't change yourself. Change the way you see yourself.
Absolutely.
And with Marian Bevington, who is our genius vision host, it's impossible not to see. Come along, don't take my word for it. Come along and see what happens next. From both of us, until next time, is goodbye. Join us on the red carpet tonight. Goodbye.
Yay. Bye.